Hey everybody, Jake here, and today we're going to take a look at the Pilot Metropolitan. This is actually a very recent acquisition for me. Had it for about a week and a half, and I'm really surprised with this pen. Generally, when people talk about starter fountain pens, you get something like this, and you know, your Lamy Safari, two biggest recommendations. Recently, especially if you frequent the fountain pen Reddit at all, the Jinhao pens are very, popular, and for good reason. All of these pens are good in their own right, but I'm really taken aback with how good the Safari. I mean, not the Safari. Separate review. How good the Metropolitan is. Um, we'll go and do a quick run over some specs and go ahead and jump into it. So, diameter of the body is going to be 13.3. Diameter of the cap, or 13. I'm sorry. Diameter of the body is 13 millimeters. Diameter of the cap is 13 without the clip. Diameter with the clip is 15.8. The diameter of the grip is going to be 8.4. Length of the body without the nib is going to be 126. Length of the cap is 57. Length of the nibs 18. Length overall close 138. Length overall posted is going to be 153. Weight of the body 17 grams, 0.6 ounces. Weight of the cap 9 grams, 0.3 ounces. Overall weight is 26 grams, 0.09 ounces. So almost an ounce. So it's a fairly hefty pen in comparison to some. That's mainly because I believe the body's made of brass, which is not the lightest metal. And ink capacity is going to vary depending on what converter you put in there or if you use the cartridge. And we'll go ahead and jump into some size comparisons here. We'll go ahead and do a closed and opened. I'll kind of match it down here at the bottom of the pen body. So you can see there with some other beginnerish fountain pens, it's a little small. And just for fun, we'll go ahead and pull out the Pilot Vanishing Point because the finish on these is somewhat similar. So you can see this is actually a little bit longer than the Metropolitan, even with the Metropolitan capped. And we'll go and do an uncapped comparison if I can keep all these pins from rolling off of my desk here. Probably not, that's too much to ask, right? We'll just do it like this. Uncap all these. And try to get them all in frame. So you can kind of see it's a little longer than the Jinhao, a little shorter than the Safari. So it's an okay size, especially if you have smaller hands. That's going to be a great choice for you. And just in comparison to some other, everyday house objects, here it is next to a Dragon's Heart pick. You can see it's ever so slightly longer, but not quite as wide, and some fairly noticeable thickness difference there. And also in comparison to Sora, a little bit taller, but again a bit thinner, not as wide. Let's go and jump into the like list of this pen. Things to like. The nib. The nib on this pen is great. I don't know how they got it into this price tag, to be honest, but the nib on this is really good. I apologize for the nib creep, but you can see it's a pretty plain nib. There is some accenting on the side, which you may be able to kind of see there. There you go. And it's medium steel nib. But the nib's really good. This writes super smooth. For a Japanese medium, I was really surprised. Also, I'm going to end up doing a comparison video between these two up next. But the medium on the Vanishing Point's a lot different than the medium on the Metropolitan. Next up's the weight. This is not a super heavy pen, but it's very nice when compared to the Safari, which you almost can't feel in your hand. You can feel something here. It's not as heavy as like your Jinhao, but it's a nice weight. And it obviously gets a whole lot lighter without the cap on there. Comes down to almost half an ounce. Next thing is the posting, actually. So this pen is a little short, but that's not necessarily what bothers me when I'm holding it. It's how narrow it gets back here. I don't know why I like wider pens where they rest on my hand. So I like to post this pen, actually. And it posts fairly well. It posts somewhat deeply. You know, nothing crazy, but about halfway. And it just posts securely. It's nice when it's posted. I vastly prefer it this way. And just for some posting size comparison, we'll go ahead and pull back out the Safari. I just need to do a comparison video on these two too. You can see the Safari's a decent bit longer. Getting into that kind of unwieldy territory. Also, it's heavily backweighted because of the clip. Speaking of the clip on this is really good. It goes down over, you know, shirt pocket, jeans, whatever, just fine. You can just kind of slide it. Goes right down on. Just because of the tiny little ram they have there. And also, this pen doesn't have much branding on it. It basically just says Pilot Japan. And also on the clip, you'll see it says Pilot and then Japan. So the clip kind of, it's a bit wider here. And it narrows out, and you'll see on the side it does kind of the opposite. As it gets more narrow, it gets taller. And there are also some lines on the side which kind of throw off the design for me, because everything else is kind of minimal. And they're not super visible, to be honest. It's hard to see them at all, but they're there. Next thing, the capping. Just like the Safari, it's pretty good. You know, just a clip cap, a little bit more convenient than threaded caps if you're just, you know, quick note taking or whatever. So using this at school, which I'm sure if you're looking in this pen, you're probably either kind of wary about spending money on a fountain pen, or you can't afford a really high-end one. So this is a really good choice for that. So it's really convenient for just taking notes or, you know, whatever. Next thing I like is the price on this. So the price on this is, in most places, about $15. You can pick it up off Amazon for around 10-ish, but I highly recommend supporting either a local fountain pen store or an online retailer. I usually purchase through Goulet. I just like the customer service, and the videos that Brian puts out, they're fantastic. But you know, you can pick this up for $15 from their website. In comparison, I hate to keep doing this, but in comparison to the Lamy, which is about $30, you know, if you're wanted, there's many reasons to try a Lamy Safari over this one. But if you're just looking for a basic fountain pen or just to get into fountain pens, this is not a bad place to start. Next thing up is the packaging. It comes in a little plastic case instead of a cardboard box, so it's just a little nice. Okay, time to jump into some stuff I'm more neutral towards. The material. So the body's, you know, lacquered brass or something like that, very thin brass. And this plastic band, we'll get more into that in a bit, but it just kind of adds to a cheaper feeling. You know, it's slippery, glossy plastic section, and you can't really complain too much at this price. But they're just not. It's not the most premium feeling material. Next thing is the fit and finish. The biggest, most stuff on this is fine. The biggest thing that gets me is where the body meets the cap, where the body meets that plastic band. You can see the body of this pen tapers from. It swells kind of towards the middle and goes back down. So this plastic band, though, does not taper, which results in there being a ramp where it connects with the body. So the end of this plastic is higher than the metal of this body, and it should kind of contour together, but it doesn't. That's just a little irritating for me. Again, you can't really complain about too much stuff at this price, though. So last thing on the neutral list is the ergonomics. Again, this pin's just a little too thin for me where it sits in the crook of my hand. And the section's not the best. It's super thin in comparison to what I like. I usually prefer around 10 to 11 millimeters. This is, again, I believe like 8.4. Yeah, 8.4. So it's just fairly thin. So generally when I hold this pen, I hold it something like this, which results in me touching that step down, which is the first thing on the dislike list. So this is a massive, massive step down to this section from the body. So unless your fingers are sitting right there on that section, or you have smaller hands, this is going to be a little inconvenient for you. It's a little sharp. It's not going to cut you, but you can feel it digging in. So it's not the best position to have that. I wish they would have made the section either just a little bit longer or reduce that that step down. It's, you know, when you cap it, it's flush. That's great. But when you uncap it and you're actually using the pen, that's there, and you do have to deal with it, and it gets a little annoying. Next thing I dislike is that plastic band. I think it's completely unnecessary because this pen looks more expensive than it is, except for that. And I don't really care about that, but if you do, that's definitely a detractor. And also, there's a lot of people that take these, sand them down, revealing the bronze, and then put a patina on them, and that cap band gets in the way. I've seen some people do, replace it with mother of pearl and other stuff like that, which is cool, but it gets in the way. Now, when you have it posted, because it's the same material as the section, the flow is pretty nice stylistically, but that's it. That's the only, I wouldn't even really call it an upside. That's the only thing that I don't absolutely hate about that plastic band. The last thing on the dislike list is the proprietary cartridge and converter. It does come with a converter, which at this price is fantastic. It is, however, a squeeze converter, which it's hard to get ink in, and they don't hold very much. So I definitely recommend picking up a different converter if you're intending on using bottled ink. If not, Pilot's cartridges hold a fair amount, but again, they're proprietary, so you'll have to buy them just for this pen. Can't swap them, so that's a little annoying. So we're going to go ahead and jump into a writing sample here and kind of show off this pen's performance. So again, this is a really good nib, really good pen in general for the value. And I haven't had any issues with writing since I've got this thing. It's fantastic. Excuse the ink on my fingers, by the way. If you use fountain pens as much as I do, you know that that's fairly common. And again, this is a medium nib, which, goodness, my writing's terrible today. It is a medium nib, which is a bit like a Western fine in most cases. I would really consider this to be a Western extra fine, though. I've got to post this. This is killing me. So it's a lot more comparable to Western extra fine. It's just so, to go back to my Lamy line comparison, it's just so thin. And in regards to reverse writing, even thinner. And you can get some line variation by pressing down a little bit. I definitely wouldn't stress it, though. It's a steel nib, so try not to press too much, which at this price, if you break it, it's fine. So it's a very good value for the money and a great starter pen. Would I say you need to own this if you already own fountain pens? You know, not really. But if you haven't ever tried one and you're wanting to, fantastic place to start right here. Alright, thanks for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Keep an eye out for my next review and also a comparison between these two to see, what your money gets you for about 10 times the price. Thanks, guys. Bye.